Our next guests are on a mission to return clothing manufacturing to its makers and to utilize and innovate sustainable, environmentally sound production practices. From their first biodegradable espadrilles to their Bolivian alpaca sweaters and dramatic dye colors made from organic materials in India, Industry of All Nations is creating clothing with a conscience and connecting their products with the people making them. Founded by brothers Patricio, Juan, and Fernando Gerscovich in 2010, the company blends their love of design with their eye for fashion and passion for creativity. Here to share more about their sustainable, ready-to-wear tale are Juan and Fernando Gerscovich. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, May.
And your other brother is missing, right? He's in Miami.
He's in Miami.
Okay. Well, tell me, how did three brothers from Argentina decide all of a sudden that they were going to go into sustainable clothing and then source it from around the world? Because I think you two are trained architects, right?
Yeah.
So from architect to clothing, how did that happen?
Well, it happened, I think it happened is a lot of ingredients that created this formula for us to create Industry of All Nations. Our parents were fashion designers in Buenos Aires, so we grew up in the fashion business in a way. Apart from being trained architects, we always had a very entrepreneurial way of living and philosophy in our brains and hearts, and we've been always very curious about brands and how people consume and how people sell and buy. And so it was a point that as consumers, we were getting so unexcited, and it was like not making sense to us that every time we went to buy something and we would look where it was made just like only in China or maybe in a few countries in Southeast Asia.
Right.
Being that every country in the world produces or used to produce, but for some reason, not for some reason, because just for the reason that it was in those countries it's more cost effective or people are paid less.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so every brand decided to get rid of productions in every country and take it there where it's cheap, where it's more affordably made.
Mm-hmm. Because companies were just worried about the bottom line, right? They just want to save money, and then they want to produce it really quickly to get it out.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and it became normal for us, let's say for the past 50 years, that products were just made in one part of the world.
Yeah.
And the truth is that like humans, we're used to make things. Collectively make things, buy things, use things. So that's what we realized that, hey, we need to start making things again.
And care about what was being made, right? It's about the quality and how it's made and, the people who are making it. So obviously your company is about trying to source those products that are actually being made by real people.
Yeah, because if not, we're buying, we end up buying like orphan products. Products that are made by people who have no idea what they're making. One day they're making it's the same company. One day making watches. The other day making raincoats. The other day making boots.
Right.
We have no connection to what they're making.
The connection.
No connection whatsoever.
Yeah, that's super important. Like work as a basic activity that we do, it has to have meaning for us. Otherwise, it's completely nonsense.
Well, that's obviously why you started this company that has such depth to it, right? Let's talk about how you go about...
You explained it very well when you introduced us. No, it's like basically the main thing is to bring productions back to the original makers.
Right, to the makers.
Yeah,
well, let's talk about...
That's how it all started.
Let's talk about how you find those products, right? I mean, you go all over the world to try to find these products. For instance, why did you choose Bolivia to go and get these alpaca sweaters?
Yeah, so talking about wool, clothes to wear during the winter. There is Bolivia, Peru, this part of the world in the Andes Mountains. That's part of their tradition. Families there, they've been breeding alpacas or llamas for generations, and it was a matter of connecting the dots, discovering them, working with them, and make their craft available for the rest of the world. And in the case of this specific project, the alpaca project in Bolivia, it's a great example of the overall industry of all nations concept. It's creating the added value of, yes, the places have they're gifted with raw materials, for example, or with manufacturing techniques. Now, in this case, we work with this cooperative that there are 1,000 farmers. They all own a piece of land. They all breed their alpacas. And then the whole cycle continues from the land of the alpaca, where they're breeding, all the way to the finished product, like an alpaca sweater. And that's creating that value of the whole process, from the raw material all the way to the finished product. Right. That's a great thing that can happen. That's how our supply chain works.
So it's full circle, like you were saying, Juan. I mean, there's a connection there with everything.
Yeah, and that's what we aim in every project. In most of the projects that how you say? Most of the projects that we approach is to go and produce with the people who grow the fiber, breed the animals, instead of like just grabbing what they grow with their land and take it somewhere else to produce it. No, let's encourage those people, apart from like making the raw material, making the finished product.
And it must be gratifying for them to actually see from start to finish what they're doing for your company. Instead of, like you said, all of a sudden their material is just taken and they have no idea what's happening.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's gratifying and it's economically perfect, because then you have like this whole chain of people of the community that are involved in the process, not only of exporting the raw material, but the mill where they process the wool, the knitters that knit the sweaters. So then you have this full circle that it's...
Yeah, that's basically how all the way from a little community to a country, the way communities and countries can thrive when they can manufacture with what they produce from their land.
And here's the other benefit that I really love about what you guys do, is that there's a sustainability topic and issue of how oftentimes how clothes are manufactured, terrible for the environment, really wasteful. There's no concern for anything but just getting it out, making that money, and then just leaving.
Yeah, so that's a whole other aspect that we take in consideration as much as this first conversation that we're having, no? How production needs to start being more sustainable.
Right.
And we need to forget to make like things like fast and cheap for a big profit.
Because here's an example that is on your website. I watched a video of the organic dyes that are used in India. Yeah. Right? It's mesmerizing, this video. It was like art. It was like artwork, watching these guys make this dye from organic material. Tell me the importance of using those type of dyes versus the conventional way of dyeing material.
Yeah, well, before the Industrial Revolution, I think was in 1850 or 1870. Before that, so I'm talking about like 100 and something years ago, every cloth that people wear on this planet, they were around like a billion. The population of the Earth was around 1 billion people. So these billion people, the world would dress with clothes dyed with natural dyes. 1 billion people. Right. The Industrial Revolution created chemical dyes. So people found a way, clothing makers found a way to dye very fast and very cheap.
Yeah, and very dangerous. Right.
Which they didn't care. No? So the pollution that process would suddenly start making to our planet was not taken into consideration, because it was still, even still now, no, more important to have fast and cheap products.
Right.
So as soon as we started Industry of All Nations, the second product we wanted to launch was we wanted to make jeans. So we started trying to figure out how to make jeans without polluting and hurting everybody. So that research took us to India and took us all this like magic and world of natural dyes, which was almost extinct in India. But that's where, before the Industrial Revolution, India was a big clothing and dye maker of the planet. So that's why we went there. So we find this little group of mad scientists trying to test and research to recreate all this, and they've been doing it for 20 years. But in 20 years, nobody gave them a chance to really apply their technique for the modern world. So when we got in contact with them, we connected really well. We started researching, and
it's amazing what they do.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It really is.
We figured out how to start dyeing everyday wear for the modern world,
right,
with completely natural dyes
and beautiful colors.
Yeah, and what our partners in India they've been working on for all these years is basically to perfect or to adapt the millenary techniques of dyeing with natural dyes to the modern age, where, of course, we want to throw our clothing in the washer dryer, and the color has to stay, and it has to wash and dry like a conventional chemical dye garment.
Yep.
So that's the big accomplishment.
Yeah, that makes a difference, especially in today's society where everybody, again, wants everything quickly, everything easy, which leads me to my next question, which is, I think this must be the tough part for a business like yours, where we do live in a society where it's all about fast fashion, it's all about throwaway, it's all about cost. How do you convince people to change their attitude to buy your product when it's not the cheapest thing, on the shelf?
Yeah.
But it's about education, I suppose. But has that been a big challenge?
It's not the cheapest, but it's also not that expensive.
Yeah.
For example, we try to work with the most reasonable margins as we can. For example, an industry T-shirt is a naturally dyed industry organization T-shirt is $48, maybe comparing to $30 chemically dyed from a fast fashion brand, or maybe a chemically dyed T-shirt from a high-end brand. It probably costs 3 times more. So very much in price.
Right. But let's put it this way: you can't compete with the big chains.
Yeah, I know.
$10 a T-shirt or something like
because
that. Right?
Also that's something that those price points is something that, let's call them, it's an artificial value that the fast fashion companies were in charge of creating, and the truth is that that's the problem, and people are realizing that. So
do you see that change? Do you see that that's a trend that's becoming more popular?
Sure.
Yeah, we see that also in the shop. Now we can see live the reaction of people when they...
In your new store,
when they counter our products. The conversation we have is incredible, no? How people are some people are completely aware, and they come shopping to us because they know they want to have a positive effect with their buy.
Right.
But some people they don't know about, and when they hear what we say and the conversations and the information, they cannot believe what's going on.
I mean, people want to know. People want to get informed, and the process of choosing or deciding to buy something, the elements that comes to the table are starting to be different. It's not just about how it looks if it's in trend. So we're in that process, and people are asking a lot of questions, and
which is great that people are starting to become more curious, because there's one statistic that I think is so alarming that most people don't know, right? To produce 1 ton of cotton, it takes 200 tons of water.
Yeah.
Right? Just to produce 1 ton. So things like that, how do you get that information out to the general public? Again, I get so mad about this. People just don't care sometimes. They tune out.
Yeah,
so
people
it's hard.
Not only that. For example, if people knew, that to wear your red T-shirt that you love, because you have a red chemical color on, you're polluting everything around the manufacturing place where that T-shirt was made.
Right.
What will people say?
And people live there.
Yeah.
People live in that area.
People live there, and that happens everywhere in the world, not only somewhere far away. Companies, factories here in downtown LA,
of course,
they're dying with poison, because chemicals are poison, and throwing the leftover, the residual waters right to the water streams.
Okay, so you guys, then what do you think it will take to get this message to the masses? I mean, it's great that people are coming into your store asking questions, but these are people who are already aware. Yeah. What about the totally unaware? What do you think that needs to be done?
Yeah, I think the the message and information is going to be getting out there little by little, and maybe not maybe faster than little, because now with social media and how all the way from like a show like this that it's watched by millions of people, and so messages now they takes very fast to spread.
And Juan?
I mean, it has,
Fernando, sorry.
It has become such a current issue, the problem the world is facing, and the pollution environment, that I guess in every aspect of what we do, our footprint of humans in this world, it has to be considered, and people are aware.
Yep.
It's today, and everybody's talking about it. So
hopefully
it's up to us, the companies, the people who are making things, to give an example and to communicate how business can be better for the world and the environment, for the people, for everybody.
And that's true. It has to make business sense too, right? You can't just do it for charity sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes 100% charity is great, but also when it comes to a business, you have to make it work. It has to make sense.
It has to work.
Yeah.
Yes. And the process of when you're innovating in anything, the process of making business sense, it's probably going to be different to type of businesses that have already a formula. So that's a process, and that's maybe the growth curve. It's slower, but it's necessary.
As long as it's going in the right direction.
Yeah,
right?
and also it's basically we need to stop thinking that the only reason we need to wake up and live for is to make money. I think everything. I think that's where you start.
Yeah.
No, I think we need to wake up and live like to help each other. And if you help each other well and you solve problems, well, no, money will come. But the reason to make money, that shouldn't control. That should be the motive of our humanity anymore.
I love that motto. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Juan and Fernando, thank you so much for coming in and telling us all about your business.
Thank you so much for inviting us.
You're doing. Good luck to you. And I'll come by your store.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Well, coming up next, solar power is still a relatively new technology, but it's already being re-innovated in clever ways with impressive results. We'll be right back.